So, welcome everybody to a new episode of the Coaching Couch podcast. My name is Katrine. I'm calling in from Switzerland. And with me today, as usual, is Kitty.
Hey, good evening. Calling in from Breda, Netherlands again. Welcome all. And we have a guy from Finland. Tero, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tero Kadenius. Yeah, as Kitty said, I'm calling from Finland, Central Finland, Jyväskylä to be specific.
And you're also a coach, or how do you describe yourself?
Yeah, that's like maybe a long story, but yeah, some sort of I do kind of agile coach, team coach stuff, and then Scrum Master, software developer, kind of technical and human side. I try to balance those in my work.
Mm-hmm. We invited you to discuss today's topic, which is motivation and values. And we're curious, what motivated you to join today's call, to join our podcast?
I guess curiosity would be like the number one. And I've met you guys before and you seem like nice people, so why not?
Excellent. I find that an excellent motivation, though why not? Yeah. I have this pun with you all both know Petra, right? And we said I don't know, a couple of years ago maybe, we were talking about the why and stuff like that, and then at one point one of us is why and the other one is why not. Sorry, just
I never heard that as a model for motivation, but I like it. It's
So
reasons to do something, why not?
Yeah. Exactly. So what's the worst thing that can happen if you cannot come up with anything sound? Then yeah, sure, go for it.
Yeah, we should write a paper on it and post it as the motivational model, like a new one. You know, there's so many out there, and in preparation for today's call, I dug around a little bit and was looking what I could find, and I like this one best because it's simple. Like the most complex one I found has like 16 motives in life. These are my notes on it, and they're kind of scrambled. But I think one of the most common models for motivation, at least in the coaching discussions that I've had, is the one from Pink.
Mm-hmm.
You familiar? Yeah.
Yeah, from Drive.
Like for those not familiar, I think Daniel Pink is his name.
Yes.
Wrote a book about motivation. It's a very good book, and it's a very good model. I've got nothing against the model. And it says motivation is autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And he writes a whole book about how that is the case and why. And a lot of people tend to just recite that as the truth, you know. Mm-hmm. And I don't like that part. I don't like the part where people just think that motivation is autonomy, mastery, purpose, full stop, and not go any further. And as we've heard, Tero, you just said curiosity is important. And I wouldn't know where to place curiosity in that model. So I think it's
like all models are wrong, but some are useful. So.
Do you have other models? Have you heard of other models, or which one do you use?
Like specifically about motivation in Management 3.0 that we, as a company, like Flowa is the name of the company. In our trainings, the Management 3.0 has this jump frogs, which is kind of mnemonic or the moving. Yes, thank you. Moving motivator cards. It has like 10 motivators, and that's like a combination of theories that I can't remember the authors by heart, but it's like a synthesis of several models, and I think there's 10 Curiosity is definitely one of those.
And is it also one which is other than tonight is an important one for you, or just does one rise up?
One of those 10, you mean?
Yeah. Because for me it would be on the count of 10 from the moving motivators would be freedom and goal would be in the top sector for me at least.
You mean like specific to this session or in life?
No,
Right
in
now.
life. In life right now for you.
Yeah, I think freedom is definitely one. But I like how they kind of set that how that exercise is set in a way that those they are moving motivators. They're not like fixed motivators. So it's okay and like okay to admit that things change, and in different situations your motivators can vary. Like for example, right now I think people are motivated by pretty different things than in the like in January for some reason, like survival.
Yeah, and the relatedness probably. Sorry.
Relatedness? Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there is. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
For those who don't know, we talked about it in the last call about Management 3.0 and moving motivators. So if you don't know it, you did not check out our link. We'll post it again down below the video. That's true. I posted a link in the last video. Moving motivators has those 10 motivators. And curiosity is one, relatedness is one. Yeah, curiosity is definitely very high in life for me, which is weird because I don't like risk. So I'm very curious, but I want to know what comes out.
Oh, it's interesting because curiosity for me is somewhere, but it's not on top of my list. And I love risk, actually. It's
Is risk motivating to you? Like adrenaline, the rush of adrenaline?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, at some points.
Excitement? I've never found excitement.
The unknown is seductive.
Yeah. Have you found that in any motivation model, like excitement or adrenaline or
no?
It's lacking. It's totally lacking. Even
so like they said, the models until they're useful.
We should totally do our own model here. Why
no,
not?
we shouldn't. No, we shouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. At sometimes you might be, as in this situation right now in the world, I'm also sort of risk averse. I don't tend to look it up now. But for myself, if I want to be really motivated to do stuff, and now I'm not doing anything, so it's also the action part maybe for me. Yeah, and also what I find not really, at least in this model of Management 3.0, or correct me if I have not found out about it, but there is no really difference or not being talked about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation.
It's not being talked about enough in coaching circles where we are, you mean? Because in psychology.
Yeah, but also in the with the moving motivators.
I think that's an interesting point, because I've seen, I don't know like which is correct, but I've seen moving the Jamfrogs model to be characterized as being combination of extrinsic and intrinsic motivators, and being just intrinsic. So I'm like, I think that there's an argument that it's a combination, because there's, stuff like, like power, order, status, which can be kind of extrinsic or considered as such. How do you feel about that? What do you?
At least
What?
power
Power
for me.
extrinsic?
Yeah, no, power is intrinsic for me. Status, I can sort of get. It's also extrinsically.
No, it's
Uh,
intrinsic. You
but-
want to feel the status. It's not someone. I mean,
yeah,
if
but you also you
someone walks
relate
up
it
to you and goes,
others.
"Hey, you can have whatever label, be the director of something," and that could motivate you.
But in that logic, isn't money then as well intrinsic?
It can be. It can be. I think it's if it's something that you want, then it's intrinsic. Money by itself is not a value. It's not a motivator. It's something that's behind it. Usually financial security, stability, or status or power. But if someone is motivated to make more money without anyone telling them, then it's intrinsic, I would say. And it's extrinsic if the company or whoever goes like, "Hey, I'll motivate you. Here's money. Or here's a fancy business card with a nice title." That's extrinsic. I think.
But if you're motivated by status, that might tickle your.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think motivation. When in my coaching education, I was told that you cannot motivate another person. It's impossible because they have the motives that they have. You can just try to find out what motivates them and try to, carrot them like a donkey to where you want to have them. So if someone is motivated by a higher status and you can give it to them, why not?
Yeah. So what were you, Kitty, saying about a minute ago about you wanting more discussion about extrinsic motivators or?
Well, at times I find that extrinsic motivators are seen as bad, and the intrinsic ones are good, so to say. And I'm not sure I agree. Because going back to the discussion, what motivates you as a person at some point in time, because that could also be very different. And it's just the triggers that people can use, or you yourself can use to move ahead, let's say. And I found that the extrinsic motivators, like Dan Pink is saying, the autonomy, mastery, and purpose, and no to sticks and carrots. But at sometimes, it's good as long as you don't take that as a means by itself or as the only true way to do stuff. But at sometimes, you sometimes need a kick in the butt, and maybe the sticks and carrots will help. But if you want a long-lasting impact, probably not, and probably something more purposeful or whatever it is that let's take it. But to move ahead, to set some steps, I think it can definitely help to also be moved extrinsically.
Yeah.
And if people know what your values are, they can help you with that. I think.
I think now that you brought time, I think that's like one kind of variable or horizon or dimension. So like in short term, maybe you need extrinsic, but like in the long term, like the North Star, what you're striving towards, that's like I don't know if that can be extrinsic if you want to,
Not sure if I agree. I would say that it's about the alignment. If whatever you're able to give someone else is aligned with their values, then they will be motivated. And then that will be a carrot for them, if you will. If you give them something that they are not motivated by, for example, if you would offer me some grand title, it would not move me in any way. I just go like, yeah, whatever. I'd probably be angry because I feel manipulated or something. So I think the bad thing about extrinsic motivators is that not that they are brought to you from the outside, but that they're not in line with what you really want and need. I think that's the issue that you mentioned, Kitty, about intrinsic being good and extrinsic being bad.
Yeah, I think that's how it's perceived most of the time. It's been
Yeah,
set
but it's the
aside as
misalignment that's
extrinsic
bad.
as bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of the time you don't get to that discussion because people say it's bad already.
Yeah, that's
Extrinsic is
people tend
bad.
to simplify or to
Yes.
not think enough about the models that are being presented. Yeah.
I
Hence
think
my issue with Dan Pink.
what I was referring, with the time where I was thinking the situation I had in my mind was like, how do I, if I have this strive, this impact I want to have in the world, how do I keep my motivation in the short term? So how do I push myself so gets this sort of sense of achievement, for example, like by moving this many tasks to the done section or something like that, which is totally irrelevant regarding the impact, but it kind of helps me stay motivated in the moment when sometimes the tasks themselves are not, they're kind of like tedious or something like that. Yeah.
So you need to.
So a little bit different, but I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a sense of accomplishment when you see the task moving to the done part. And then you have a North Star, which is the greater purpose, which these single tasks serve. That's what you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They're aligned to the North Star, so you need both.
Yeah, yeah.
But on a different time scale. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, our topic today is motivation and values, and I think the two really are inseparable.
Yeah.
If they're to be in line. And that's why money never motivates anyone, because money by itself is not a value. And that doesn't work. So, and I think that's really almost scary to talk about in a professional context, because to some people, values, it can be very personal. And yeah, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? To talk about values with a team that is maybe not a family yet?
I think for me, it's one of the first things I try to do when a new team is being set up, for instance. Talk about, okay, who do we want to be? What's our identity, let's say? And sure, we don't have an identity yet when we start, but what do we individually find important, and what can we expect from other people? What can we expect from our team? Internally, but also to the outside world. I mean, what do we stand for as a team? How do we want to be perceived? What are our main values? So I use that actually when a new team is being set up, to have that discussion on identity or culture or whatever it is that you want to call it. And you don't get there with one session. It's something that needs to grow, and people need to get to know each other and get to know their role in the team. The roles and responsibilities also nicely fit in there, for me at least. I don't know what your experience in that is.
I think I share that kind of idea, in a sense that I'm a little bit allergic to the collecting values type of thing, because I don't believe in that. Like, we need to come up with a bunch of words that's our values. I don't think that's how we humans operate. So I liked that kind of, we do that together in several in a several phases. So, and I feel like this is not my original idea, but I think like it's better to think about what kind of stories do we tell. It's better, of course, if you have history, you can think about which kind of stories would we like to enforce or kind of reinforce, and which kind of stories would we like to lose, and that kind of makes our values together, and also kind of makes sense instead of just to say that integrity, something like that. And I guess that works with the new teams as well, because you can like what kind of stories would we like to, so come up what would we like this to be. I think
would we like other people to talk about us? What do we want other people to say about us?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying
stuff like that.
Yeah. As a values in a team context, as a we, I totally see that. I was more thinking along the lines of if you go down the route of everybody's individual values. Like if you talk about the values that we as a team have, that's one thing. But then talking about everybody's individual values, that can be very personal.
It can be very personal, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I would go there. Not with most teams. Well, it can be. Sorry.
That depends on what the culture in company, for instance, also is, or what kind of trust level does the team have, or the individuals in the team have with each other, and especially if it's a newly formed team, that's kind of dangerous to start there, I'd say. But if it's people who've been around the company for years and they all know each other but haven't been around as a single team, then I think it can be useful to do that. But I've never done it before in such a context, I must say.
It takes a lot of trust.
Yeah,
I would say. No matter how long the people have been with the company, it would take a lot of trust and feeling safe to share that. But on the other hand, it can lead to a lot of conflict if people don't share the same values, or they assume that everybody else shares the same values that they have. And it actually would help to talk about it and to be aware that not everybody shares the same values, and that's okay. And to know about each other's values. That would be hard. Yeah. So I think we're once again back at it needs to be psychologically safe. Haven't we been there before?
We have. Last episode, I think.
I think every episode we end up there. And need to establish
you might be onto something.
Yeah, we might be onto something. Not just us. Yeah, you guys interested in the other models that I looked up?
Hell yeah.
Go ahead.
Not all 15 others, but yeah, sure.
No, it's like 3 models, but one of them has like 16 different motives.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, oh wow, that's complicated. Not sure, but I mean, there also that model is missing the why not and the risk. So we'll see. So I like that model. Should work on that. Why not as a value?
I have some spare time now.
Now I've been thinking about you know the theory X and theory Y.
Yes.
So why not Y and why not?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So
right.
Dan Pink's model is autonomy, mastery, purpose. So if someone has a sense of being autonomous, being allowed to decide something by themselves, the feeling of mastering something, of being good at something, or the feeling of having a purpose, that is what will motivate people. That's the very basics of his model. And other models propose other things. For example, in sports, which is an area that I work in a lot as a mental skills coach, they say it's ABC. So it's A is autonomy, being allowed to decide something for yourself. B is belonging, the feeling of belonging to a team, for example. and C is competence. So you could say that's mastery with pink. But I already there, I find belonging a very important motivator. And I have asked a question before, and that was not wise of me to ask that question in that context. But I've asked, are we even a company or group of people that people are proud to belong to? Would you want to belong to this group? And I think if as a company you're thinking about motivating your employees, asking that question is important. Do your employees walk around with a t-shirt with your logo on it? Do they? Would you? And if the answer is no, you've got a problem.
I don't know about that actually. I just this week I finished what's the book called again? 9 Lies About Work, I think. I hope I said that right. It'll be in the comments in the link section. And one of them is the belonging, and it's not as much as the belonging to a company as it is belonging to a team. So it doesn't matter if you work at some fancy smancy company and your team or the people very close to you, could be managers, could be team members. If you don't get along, you'll leave. Although it might be a terrific company to work for. If you were in another team in the same company, you would stay. So it's more about team culture than it is a company culture, for instance.
Yes, but I was more talking about if you're a company manager.
Yeah.
Is this a company that you would want to work for? And if you manage a team, or if you're an agile coach, are we a team that you're proud to be a member of?
Yeah.
I think that kind of hits home for me, because I've in the past I've been struggling with those kind of ideas. I would love to, get that. Let's wear that T-shirt together, and then that didn't materialize. That I didn't get that, so that was kind of what should I do? It didn't feel right. Yeah, so I can definitely relate to that. And about the company culture and team culture, I definitely also agree. But I think it's, as you probably, it's both. So at least to some degree, if we have a great team, but the company, keeps doing stuff that I cannot stand behind, then it's also a problem.
Builds weapons.
Yeah. The domain, the domain to be,
I think it's more in the alignment of the company vision, or whether you want the product or the service to go, or if you can say, I'll work my ass off to get some accomplishment in that, then yes. But if the company, I don't know, has a pizza night or whatever it takes nowadays, I don't think that'll work much. If the team doesn't work, then you can have ping pong tables and bean bags or whatever. It won't fly anyway. So
yeah.
Then you just have a shitty work environment with a ping pong table.
Yeah. So then it's more the B of belonging. Okay, do I find myself comfortable being around these people all day, either virtually or physically?
Yeah, nobody ever said that. I would love to work here if only we had a ping pong table.
Yeah.
Yeah, but many times those are the kind of things that people or companies try to, use as a, I don't know, lure people in with
I think
free soda and stuff like that.
Well, I think it's, if we compare it to the extrinsic and the intrinsic motivators again, because the ping pong table or the free coffee or whatever it is that you have, it's more of the extrinsically thingies. What can we do to motivate people enough to I don't know, hang around more time at the office, or socially connect with other colleagues. It might be easier to be sociable with your colleagues if you have a ping pong table,
Hmm.
or if you can have a very, very nice coffee instead of, I don't know.
A yucky coffee that you even have to pay for yourself.
So I think it is important, but it's not a main thing. It's more the short term things again.
It's about the alignment, I think. I guess
Mhm.
the whole ping pong table thing came up in the startup scene,
Yeah.
whereas, and I'm guessing that a lot of these people just liked playing ping pong and foosball and whatnot, and they brought that because they had fun doing that, and then everybody assumed that, well, everybody likes that, and if you're someone who doesn't like to play ping pong, then you're out and you're not motivated by having a ping pong table around.
Mm.
But I'm guessing if someone likes playing ping pong and that's a way for them to socialize, then they will be very happy about it.
Mm.
Yeah, but it's again, I think it's the alignment that's, and the thought that it's so easy, you know, it's like, oh, you just put a ping pong table and then everybody will want to work for your company.
Yeah, I think that's like the traditional bad HR thinking, that you can budget the put a slice in the budget for the motivation. So how many ping pong tables do we need in order for our people to be motivated? And that kind of thinking is real, but hopefully,
And scary.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Like,
it's simple, you know.
yeah.
We can buy a ping pong table. It's easy. Actually changing the company culture, actually changing the culture in which maybe management treats the rest of the employees, that's more difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Buying
sure.
a ping pong table by comparison is easy.
But it's
Yeah.
also long term and short term again.
Yeah, I mean, a ping pong table is maybe fun for a day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's also true for money, by the way.
Mhm.
Getting more money
The kick.
motivates people like for a week,
Mhm.
and then you keep paying them more money, but they're not more motivated.
Yeah.
So that is not a good way to motivate people either. As I said, money is not a value. Doesn't motivate anyone.
Mhm.
Yeah. So belonging is one thing that I think is important. Wanting to work there, wanting to work for that company or that team, wanting to be part of that movement towards a purpose. I think also the alignment with the company goals or the team goals, like actually working in a company that produces a product or offers a service that is in line with your values is something that's important as a North Star.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there can be much work to do still in the world for that. I mean, more purpose-driven, whatever it is that you do, purpose-driven development or purpose-driven XYZ. So what's the real reason you exist as a company? You know, what are you really after instead of making the product?
It sounds like test-driven development. It's like purpose-driven business
Purpose-driven
model.
development.
Yeah. I've heard that somewhere.
Purpose-driven business development, business model development. You've heard that before? Purpose-driven business model development or test-driven development?
We had the
Purpose-driven
development as a company slogan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally. I mean, was it your colleague Juha that he mentioned that he's a holistic programmer? It was the first time I heard that, and I was fascinated by it because he said it's not just about being full stack. I care about the people, I care about the team, I care about the culture, and I care about writing good code.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think, and I'm getting off a tangent here. I think like it would be nice if like in that sense every person in the company were full stack developers. It's not
Holistic,
just
more than just full stack.
more than just full stack. Yeah.
We're more holistic.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to be a programmer, but the
But
people.
if everyone were to be a holistic programmer, I don't know if that would work actually.
No, you don't only need programmers in the company. It's just
but holistically driven people. I don't know. Maybe
it's not a binary choice. I think like towards this ideal where you can be kind of have this.
About the term is that you know how people went from being a front-end developer or a database developer to being full stack.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can do anything, whatever serves the team, kind of thing. And from there I strive to be holistic in the sense that I not only care for the code, I care for the company, and it happens to be my specialty to be good at coding or be good at whatever it is. But I realize that the rest of the company exists and I care for them. And that kind of mindset would be nice if everybody had it to a certain degree and not just think that, I work in sales. I don't care about you guys in finance.
So about how to kind of be interested in the whole picture and working towards that, and not just taking care of what I've been assigned.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my idea of the holistic, and more, as you said, caring about the people and the whole.
Yeah, it's not about being able to do everything holistically. It's just about acknowledging the existence and respecting other people. I think that's what we mean.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Kitty, if you have anything against that.
No, I was just what came to mind is that sometimes you gotta be a bitch or an asshole, which is not holistic at that point, but in the long run it is, because sometimes you gotta move the needle.
It can move it can serve a holistic purpose to
exactly
be not super nice.
Yeah.
I didn't say that thinking in a holistic way meant that you're nice all the time. You can
no.
Directly clear.
I just wanted to point out that I think that's important too at times. I mean,
honesty is very high on my values list.
And
that means not just don't lie, but also tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can be very not nice.
Yeah.
And
I find that. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Now I was saying avoiding conflicts can be a huge problem. Like I'm guilty of that for sure. Like sometimes you need to be able to face those, and they can be fruitful and useful.
Yeah.
And definitely like avoiding them at all costs. It's not necessarily the way to go.
I think sometimes it's what I'm paid to do, actually, to be the bitch. And as an external, I mean,
pink elephant in the middle of the room.
Yeah, as an external person, it's sometimes much more easy to bring out the elephant and let's not avoid conflict and talk about this thing that is awkward to us all. And I'm more than willing to stand my ground or to do the dirty work and bring that discussion in, so that hard things can be talked about. And I find that a very important part in my role, and I don't care to do that either, as long as it's not to a person, but more objectively said, then I'm fine with it.
It's the behavior, not the person.
Yes, absolutely. Otherwise, I would.
I think conflicts are always there. You cannot just be silent about them and hope they'll go away. The conflicts are always there. There's always being a game around them. It's just a matter of on which sort of layer they're being played out. There's, the whole iceberg model with what's above the water and what's under the water. And we can only talk about what's above the water, what's visible. And that's usually the product that we're working on, or the thing that we're talking about as, during this meeting. And if the conflict is not on that level, if the conflict is more personal or whatever, you stole my parking spot, or you started dating my girlfriend and she left me, or whatever it is, and that is something that you cannot talk about. That's a pink elephant in the room. Then people will start to play that conflict on another level, which can be the product that we're working on. And then it's really, really harmful for everybody in the team and the company when conflicts are not talked about. So actually we need to sort of lift the iceberg out of the water, if you will, so that
I think transparency definitely helps with that, and also bring out the tough parts.
And I think as a coach you can help the teams to set up structures that enable that, so it's not like the normal thing to not handle them.
Yes, you can get you can get them there and make them feel safe talking about it. I just forgot what I was going to say. Never mind. But it's it takes courage. It takes courage to also as a coach to step in and go like, so everybody, let's talk about big pink elephants, shall we? And then you take out a chainsaw and start cutting through the air, which suddenly got a lot thicker. But it's necessary, and it does take courage. It does take courage to talk about it. I don't know, is courage a value? Haven't found it in any of the models that I was going to talk about. I found honor and vengeance, apparently, in one of them. Vengeance.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, hey, if you've got 16 motives.
It's one of the 16 then.
So 16 motives according to Rice. I can.
But vengeance, no.
Yeah. So it's power, independence, curiosity, acceptance, order, saving, honor, idealism, social contact, family, social status, vengeance, romance, eating, physical activity, and tranquility.
I can definitely see the vengeance being powerful.
There.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a model. Apparently, someone published on it.
Romance.
Why not? I mean, I don't see vengeance as a motive. Like, core motive of a person is my only reason in life is
romance.
Vengeance. I know one person in a movie. It's Lady Snowblood. I think it's like a 1950s Japanese movie. It's the movie that the Kill Bill movies were based on. It's like full of blood and really splattery and really Japanese. Lady Snowblood. Her only purpose in life is to avenge the death of her parents. But that's a movie, and it's really weird. I mean, it's weird to think that someone would live such a life. So I'm not really. I don't know why someone would.
Okay, I'm very interested in the audience if anybody has heard from this model or has some experience in vengeance as a motivator. Wow. Yeah.
Imagine that in a company.
Yeah, I can see it be a factor, but it's not something that you strive towards. Like, it's not like we want to establish vengeance as our key motivation. That's not going to happen, probably. Hopefully.
I think it's limiting. because if you succeed, that would mean you destroy your enemy, and then you've run out of purpose.
Yeah.
Because
You
don't
need
have
new
any
enemies.
left. It's like, okay, what now?
Mm.
I also think that vengeance, much like anger, I claim that anger is not an actual emotion. There's always something behind it, usually fear.
Mm-hmm.
And behind vengeance, there is something else. It's a need for acceptance, or a need to be seen, or a need for something else that has been violated, that you
Could be
want
the
to
power,
reestablish.
could be the status, you don't know.
Yeah, but
Whatever.
vengeance itself is,
Yeah, I think like fairness or justice
yeah,
is something. Yeah.
yeah,
that
and you want to
use.
reestablish justice is
Yeah.
why you're out for vengeance.
Yeah.
But
I think justice is a lot better. Like that's a positive one. You can actually
order.
use that as a company.
Yeah. Justice. Okay. Yeah. Not sure.
Okay, I think we're spending too much time on vengeance as a motivator.
It's so odd. I mean, everybody's like, yeah, sure, mastery, why not? But vengeance, let's talk about that. Yeah. One I found interesting was in another model is that having more pleasure. So does pleasure motivate people, or the avoidance of non-pleasurable things, such as I go to the dentist not because it's pleasurable, but because I can avoid even less pleasurable things?
That's interesting. You know,
like eating chocolate just because it tastes good.
I think for some other reasons, I've been thinking about that. Like, you know, there's these philosophies or theories that, you know, clinging to, for example, pleasure is a kind of bad thing, or prevents you from becoming what you can
to cling
be.
to something, to hold on to something?
Yeah, like pleasure is in that sense a negative, because it means clinging, or it can call, you know, like addiction, for example. And I think the aversion is like the flip side of that. So
yeah, that's like
I'm comfortable. I'm uncomfortable with that.
It's a more Buddhist or Zen view of pleasure, like the clinging to something.
Yes.
I mean, if you want to go the Christian way, it would be sinful.
No, I'm.
Kitty, how about sin?
I'm thinking as a Buddhist here, so.
Sin as a value, not sure. But I mean, I guess people are motivated by that. Just, I mean, for pleasure, there's a whole industry around that. More than
I think for me, pleasure, I think it's an odd one as a motivator, but I think a lot of people are motivated. If things are going with enough respect to their values, then either work or in personal life, it's pleasurable to work in an environment which is in line with your values.
I wasn't just thinking along the lines of working somewhere where it's pleasurable. I mean, yeah, sure. But for example, why would I go to a concert? It's not because I want power or a maybe social status, but it's mostly I like it. It gives me good feelings. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, you could also think about what would motivate anyone. What motivates our customers? What would motivate them to buy our product?
But what brings them pleasure? You could say. I mean, it's
the experience
right?
of whatever, the big visuals or whatever it is that, yeah, I mean, there's more behind that. What is pleasurable about a concert, for example? What is pleasurable about owning a super expensive vacuum cleaner?
It depends on why you bought it, but I think talking in the coaching context, back again, I think if you have to do something, if you're working, and try to make a living out of doing your work, then at least it would be nice to have it pleasurable, and pleasurable for the one is something totally different than for another person.
Yeah.
And sometimes pleasure, I mean, I like to do stuff which is hard, not all of the time because I would get exhausted, but if it's too easy or it's repetitive, I get bored and then it's not pleasurable for me. But there are people who say, oh yeah, let me just do this, work out a routine for this, and they find comfort or pleasure in that. And I'm glad we're not alike.
Yeah.
And yeah, people
Yeah. So
need
there's more
different
behind
stuff.
finding something pleasurable, because
Mhm.
if something were repetitive to you, that maybe would violate your need for new stuff and curiosity and risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that being the unpleasurable feeling would come from one of your values being violated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think the pleasure always goes back to your values, or when it's in line with some of your values, it'll be
Yeah.
pleasurable.
Yeah, I tend to agree in that those values and motivators, when they get fulfilled, you get pleasure. That's one way. Like,
Yeah.
it's neuroscience. So
Mhm.
what's
Yeah.
the neurotransmitter of
Dopamine.
pleasure?
Yeah.
Is it like dopamine? So
Yes.
so what do you need to do? What
Get your
punch of
shot.
a cocktail? Yeah.
Oh, Agile Cocktails. Aha. Thank you.
That's what your company's called, Agile Cocktails. Yeah.
Mine, yes.
Yes, yours is called that. Do you do virgin Agile cocktails? I don't drink. So yeah, it's interesting that we're so much better at discussing these motivation models than some other people. That, I mean, I got this from psychologists who taught me that and showed me different models.
Mhm.
Like I'm serious. This is a guy that wrote a paper on it. 16 tranquility. That's definitely motivating me.
Yeah, but I mean, why not? I mean, thanks to him, we have a discussion going on, right? And talking about what brings out this odd sense of vengeance, or yeah, I don't know what. It's interesting. It goes. I think the conversation will go deeper if you throw in some odd stuff in there. At least as a
negative
conversation.
stuff, like
yeah.
vengeance.
Yeah,
Not just
maybe.
driving more sticks and not just carrots.
I don't know.
I definitely think that
Definitely triggers me.
my apologies to all the dentists out there, but going to the dentist is one example. It's not you're striving to whatever be autonomous or to master something is not a reason why you go to a dentist, yet something motivates you to go there. Something motivates you to do the unpleasurable things you need to do at work, to do the repetitive, boring stuff. There is something that motivates you to do that. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's more of a stick than a carrot. And I'm sure just as there are different kinds of carrots for everybody, there can be different kinds of sticks for everybody.
Yeah. And some people get a dopamine shot out of sticks. So
sure, there's an industry around that too.
Yeah. We're going off topic.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned, Tero, the moving motivators example. How else do you guys use motivation and values in coaching?
In coaching,
or when you in your work in general, when you work with values?
I think one thing is to kind of remember to take those things on the table, like we kind of touched on this earlier. Like you need to set the structures that it's easier to, because as I said earlier, they're not like fixed, but need to be like revisited, and you know how to enable that. So, for example, you can have all sorts of tools, like you can collect your team's mood or whatever on a wall and go through them periodically, stuff like that. And the other thing I just popped to my mind is the underlying beliefs, which your own beliefs. It's kind of important because they're hard, because you don't necessarily identify or know them yourself. Like, what are my core underlying beliefs that my, you know, motivating factors are built on? It's not easy to. There are a lot of things that you don't know about. So reflect, have time for reflection together, like individually and together, I think.
Mm-hmm. To know about your bias.
Yeah.
That's an interesting part.
For me, it's also, especially in this time right now, I'm rethinking again where I want to be as a coach, or what kind of work that I want to do. And I tend to think about my values and my motivation to do stuff. And more, I mean, purpose is that's quite high on my list, actually. So okay, and where do I want to have an impact in the world, or what's the impact that I can have as an individual or as a group of people to whatever. Like sustainability is growing in my interest, to see, okay, what's the impact that I can have to have a more sustainable world, or at least have a more sustainable environment closer to me, or where I as a person can do work in, or talk about that stuff with companies or people interested in it. Because I find at times that is lacking for me when I've been doing stuff for quite some time. I need to realign and think about hard to, with myself in introspection. Okay, where do I want to be, and then what's the impact that I can have, or where do I want to put effort in? Maybe I'm not familiar with it yet, or it's growing, or I do know stuff about it, and I want to share that with other people in the world.
Yeah, it's like making sure you're still seeing your North Star.
Yeah, and also, is my North Star for the coming future, is it still where it was X years ago? Well, mine is on the move always. It's sort of in the same direction, but it's not at the same point in time, or I myself am not in the same point where I was a couple of years back. So my distance or route to my North Star is different.
Yeah, or you choose a different star. Yeah. So reflection, step 0, I would say, as a coach, is to reflect on your own motives and values.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get your bias.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great way to end this?
Yeah.
So we'll send off you, the viewer and listener, and suggest that everyone go and reflect for themselves, find their North Star. Leave a comment.
Very
below.
Interested to hear about people's North Stars.
Yeah, about people's North Stars and motivators.
Absolutely.
Leave a comment below. Would be glad to hear your feedback on our podcast, and a very warm thank you to Tero, who called in from Finland today.
Thanks for having me. It was great talking to you.